would like to thank everyone for taking your time and joining this webinar. I hope you and your family are safe. My name is Janaki Ram. I'll be running you through the PMP preparation strategy for the 2021 exam. So let's get started. So Brijesh has briefed about Techcanvass. So we were founded in 2011. We are a PMI Authorized Training Provider for our project management certifications. We are also IIBA Endorsed education providers. Right? So we are right now helping professionals get certified in CAPM as well as PMP certification. Quick intro about myself. I am Janaki Ram from Techcanvass, and I am PMI authorized PMP instructor with more than 15 plus years of experience in the software industry, 13 plus years, particularly in project management, both hybrid, predictive, agile, as well as waterfall. I'm a PMI certified PMP professional. I'm also certified Scrum Master from Agile Alliance. During my good old programming days, I used to be a Microsoft certified solution developer. Moving on further, this will be our agenda of discussion today. We'll start talking about the exam for those who are new and new to the structure of the PMP exam. We'll talk about the exam first. And then we have the pre-prep course. What do you need to do before you attend the prep course? And then we will talk a little bit about the actual prep course. And then we'll talk about what you need to do post the prep course. And we'll close the session by talking about certain exam tips and some suggestions. Now, before we move on to the matter, quite unorthodox manner, I would like to take a quick quiz. Don't worry, it's going to be easy. What do you think is the most sought after certification in the project management domain? You can provide your answers in the chat. Okay. Yes, quite easy as I promised. PMP, right? So PMP stands out when it comes to project management certification. Why is it so, right? So PMI conducted a survey, a project management salary survey, a couple of years back, probably in 2019 or 20. And then what they found out was that 25% difference between a certified professional versus a non-certified professional when it comes to project management. And that's only in the North American territory, right? If you can look at the numbers at the other areas, they are quite mind-boggling. Project managers in South Africa have a reason to party, right? So why am I asking this question? This topic is there is a reason for motivation for us to do PMP, right? There are more than 1 million PMP certification holders all over the world as we speak, right? That looks like a large number, does it? Well, not exactly. Here is what the research indicates further, that for the until 2027, there will be a requirement of around 2.2 million new project-oriented roles each year. Now, you should understand the demand that's growing up, and this is the right time for a project manager to be staying around, right? And this is the right time that if you have made a choice for getting certified in PMP, this is exactly the right time as the demand is going to increase over the next years. I request everyone to please mute. There is a lot of noise. Thank you. Thanks. All right. So this question, I just put it up to understand what is the motivation behind our look for getting certified in PMP. There is going to be a huge demand for PMP certified project management professionals in the upcoming years. Now, uh, we should start with understanding what is the structure of the exam. And the structure of the exam is defined by something called Examination Content Outline, shortly referred to as ECO. So the PMP exam, the blueprint for PMP exam happens to be ECO. So let's understand the structure of what the ECO looks like, right? At the top level hierarchy, we have something called domain, right? If you had experienced or if you had some time spent some time with PMP exam preparation, maybe earlier in your career as well, you might be aware of something called process groups, right? Process groups are equivalent to domains, and we have a change in the structure when it comes to 2021 exam. So you can look at domain as a high level knowledge area that is essential to the practice of a project management. Don't worry about the terminologies. I'm going to give some examples in upcoming slide. Underneath each domain, you have a set of tasks. Now, tasks helps a project manager perform the activities that are related to the domain, right? It is also, you can also consider them as a set of responsibilities for a project manager within a domain. And each task has a set of enablers that can help the project manager achieve the task. So PMI has provided some examples that we can look at. We can apply our own examples on a day-to-day basis. Apart from these, we have something called deliverables and tools. They are self-explanatory terms, right? To achieve the task, what are the tools that you need? And at the end of the task, what is the deliverable that you get? Okay, deliverables and tools are not mentioned in ECO. I just put it for your information. You would be getting it as a part of your student instruction manual if you are enrolling for a PMP course. Now, this is the structure of PMP ECO. Let's have a look at an example. We have a domain called people, which deals with a project manager handling people related aspects, right? There is a task underneath it by the name manage conflict, right? How do you manage conflict in a team? Maybe a group level conflict, it may be individual conflict. So there is a task under the people domain. Now, what are the enablers, right? Which can help a project manager manage conflict. The enablers are interpret the source and stage of the conflict, analyze the context for the conflict, evaluate the appropriate conflict resolution, right? So it's pretty self-explanatory, right? So you have people, you know that as a project manager, there will be conflicts in the team. You need to manage the conflict. How are you enabled as a project manager to manage a conflict? So these are certain set of examples or enablers that help you do that, right? What could be the deliverable of the managed conflict, right? So you might have to set some ground rules in the team uh, in order to manage the conflict. You might have experienced this yourself as a project manager. Every time there is a conflict, you realize that the team doesn't have a common set of ground rules. So that can be one deliverable, right? You may want to update the team charter. Uh, you may want to update the RACI matrix, right? Sometimes conflicts occur because the lack of communication of responsibilities between the team members. So you may want to update the RACI matrix and communicate it to the team so that there is lesser chance of a conflict occurring. There are a couple of tools that PMI recommends, and here are they. Pretty self-explanatory, most of them. You have the conflict management theory, you have change management theory, conflict management models, and strategies, right? So this is one example of a particular domain under task. Now, what is the exhaustive list of domains and how many tasks are there for the exam? Let's have a quick look. Okay, we have three domains. It starts with people domain. As I mentioned earlier, people domain deals with handling the people related aspects as a project manager. We have the process domain, which was quite popular in the earlier ECO. The process domain, as you might have guessed, deals with how does the project manager runs the process and what are the enablers and tasks that can help him achieve the goal of the project. And at last, we have the business environment, right? So every project runs under some sort of a business environment that enables a project to run. So that is also an equally important aspect when it comes to project management. So our ECO has three domains: people, process, business environment. Now, couple of interesting numbers here, right? There are 14 tasks underneath people. Okay? One of them is what we saw, manage conflict. Likewise, we have 17 tasks underneath process, and we have 4 tasks underneath business environment. Now, all together, we have 35 tasks if we combine all the domains together that enables a project manager to do his job. From exam perspective, what does this mean? The weightage of the percentage of questions that you would be getting in PMP exam on people would be 42%. For process, it is 50%, and for business environment, it is 8%. You can see clearly that PMI has stressed a lot on people management, particularly with the evolving trends in the industry and the need for uh, managing people equally as well when it comes to project management. Now, again, if we were a old timer, if you go back to the exam content outline of PMP a couple of years back, you wouldn't see much of a stress on the people. So with the evolving industry needs, PMI has stressed equal importance to people related aspects as well. Now, these are the domains and tasks that we looked at a high level, but when you are attending a PMP prep course, there is a sequence that PMI has recommended. Let's have a look at what sequence you would be learning the domains and tasks, right? You would be started with creating a high performance team, right? It comes under people domain. From there, you would move on to starting the project, right? It comes under process domain. And with that, you move on to doing the work, which comes under process domain. And then you move on to keeping the team on track, people domain. And then at last, you have the keeping the business in mind, business environment. So if you look at the order, this is typically how you start a new project, right? You resource your team, you may hire new people, or you can re-resource an existing team, or it can be a mix and match of that. And then you start the project, all the aspects of the project, like the plan, the budget, the resourcing, the quality management, the project plan. You start the project, and then once you have the scope baseline, you start doing the work, right? And it's equally important that as you're doing the work, you need to keep the team on track when it comes to team skills, when it comes to the conflict management. So that's the reason you see the people domain coming again at the fourth place. And at last, you need to be aware of the business environment as well in mind. So that is exactly the reason why you will be having your PMP prep course in this exact sequence. Now, there is another aspect to it that you need to keep in mind, right? The PMP exam, unlike the earlier exams before 2021, is the fact that Agile is considered of equal importance in comparison with predictive when it comes to the questions in the exam. How much equal is it? 50, 50. So if you had been preparing for PMP for quite some time, even before 2021, you would need to revisit your mindset and adapt Agile as well, and expect 50% of the questions coming from the Agile methodology. Now, couple of things about exam, right? The duration. The 2021 exam is scheduled to run for 230 minutes, roughly about 4 hours. That looks exhaustive, right? So I have a solution for that. We'll discuss it in a later slide. Now, how many questions would be there in the exam, right? We have 180 questions, and 5 of them are unscored. Now, this is not relevant for you as a uh, candidate for the exam, but this is just for information, right? So out of 180 questions, only 175 questions will be scored. There will be a random set of why questions that PMI will use it for their own research purpose. They won't be scored. Now, how does it matter to you? It should not, but what it tells here is that you should be prepared well enough to handle all the 180 questions, because you do not know which of the 5 questions are unscored. And there will be 2 breaks that will be allowed, and each break will be 10 minutes. And you will get the opportunity for a break after every 60 questions. So if you look at the math, you will have the first break requested after you complete your first 60 questions, the second break after you complete your first 120 questions. Now, keep in mind, the moment you take a break and come back, you won't be allowed to verify your questions and answers for the previous 60 questions for obvious reasons, right? PMA want to protect and make sure that the candidate does not get the answers. One more important aspect for PMP exam that you need to understand the new question types with 2021. You have your classic single choice questions. So you have a question, you have multiple answers, you get to select a single answer. That's straightforward. We have seen that before. You also have multiple choice questions, which were there as a part of PMP exams before. You have a question, there are multiple answers. You can select multiple answers out of them. Sometimes all the 4 options could be answered. Now with 2021, we have new types of questions, right? Match the following or match the pair. You will be given a set of options on the left and right. You would have to drag and drop the right answer that matches the question on the left. There are additional graphic questions called hotspots, right? You would be presented with the graphic, and based on the question, you would be asked to interact with the graphic, click on it, and then provide the answer. The question could be a graph asking you to click on a area in the graph where you think is the answer. So it could be as simple as that. Now, before you go to the PMP exam, there are a couple of things that, in fact, I would say before you start preparing for PMP exam, there are a couple of things that you should keep in mind, right? Understand the fact that the exam is tough. The exam is designed to be tough for the very reason. Now, this is not to demotivate, but rather to motivate you for the fact that the PMP certification holds so much value in the market for the very reason that the exam is tough, right? But having prepared well enough, having prepared in an organized manner, and having practiced well enough, the exam is going to be very easy. Trust me, I'm talking out of my experience. You need to wear the PMI hat when you're preparing for the exam and when you're writing the exam. Now, what does this mean? PMI in PMP exam is not going to verify your experience as a project manager, whatever you have experienced before. What the exam is trying to do is it'll give you a situation, and then it will expect you to solve the situation at hand the way PMI does. So as you know, PMI has consolidated all the best practices in the project management domain across all industries and has given you a framework called PMBOK guide, which I'll be talking about later, right? Uh, but but the important fact here is that you need to think the way PMI would solve this problem as a project manager rather than your own experience. So you might have to unlearn a lot of things as a part of PMI prep course, and you have to set your mindset to the PMI framework in order to understand the questions and pass the exam easily. I'll talk about the qualifications at the end of the session. This session was meant for how do you prepare, but I have the numbers with me. I can run you through at the end of the session. Thanks for asking. Now, most of the questions in the PMP exam are based on real life scenarios. You're not going to get many questions that is going to ask you a definition of a term. The exam won't ask you what is estimation or what is a Gantt chart, right? Rather, almost all the questions will be giving you a situation and then asking you what would you do as a project manager, right? Sometimes all the four answers may look right for you, but you would have to wear the PMI hat, then you would be exactly able to see what is the right answer. Now we'll get to the actual topic that we are here for, right? How do you prepare for the exam? I have split it into three parts. The pre-prep course, what is the groundwork that you need to do before you attend any pre-prep course or the prep course? The second part is the actual prep course. And the third part is how do you prepare once you are done with the course and before you attend the exam. Now think of it as your project management work, right? You have a goal that is to get project management professional certified, right? Now you have some milestones in between, right? You can plan it that way, and then you have an 8-week period for it to achieve your goal. Now we will go through this in a similar way, right? Let's start with pre-prep course. What do you need to do before you attend the course? Grab the ECO and try to understand it. The ECO is available free for download from PMI website. You can Google search for PMP ECO 2021 and you will see the PDF that you see the screenshot on the right side for you to download. Now, what is ECO? ECO, as I mentioned, is the blueprint for the exam. PMI revises the ECO every 3 to 5 years based on what they find, what is trending in the project management domain across all industries, and that's how they design the ECO. As I mentioned, it's the blueprint for the PMP exam. Now, the earlier versions of ECO before 2021 had a lot to memorize. Good thing with the current ECO is that they have simplified it. You have 3 domains when compared to 5 domains in the previous exam. We have 35 tasks today when compared to more than 40 tasks in the earlier exam. So you have less to memorize, less to remember, more to understand. So step 1 is get the PCO and just go through it. Step 2 is just a recommendation or a suggestion is to get a PMI membership. One of the mistakes that most of the PMP aspirants do is they apply for PMP membership, PMI membership right before applying for the exam. I'll tell you why we need to do the other way around, right? You would anyway be purchasing the PMI membership when you are applying for the exam. The reason being the exam cost is higher when you don't have a PMI membership. Your membership cost plus the discount on exam is lower than the actual PMP exam fees. So you would anyway be purchasing it as a part of your exam application. You not only get a discount on exam, you also get access to various resources. For example, live webinars, uh, uh, various people from the project management industry giving the best practices on live videos. You get to see them and you get to understand them. There are a lot of webinars out there that talk about PMP exam as well and how to deal with every subject. You get a soft copy of the PMBOK guide and the Agile practice guide, right? The PMBOK guide, purchasing it outside is pricey. So you get a soft copy for free, both the guides, both PMBOK and the Agile practice guide. And all this plus the networking benefits. Believe me, from my experience, the last point is also equally important. It's not only about getting certified in PMP, right? You would want to network and understand what's trending in the project management domain across the industries. You may be working for a particular company, you may be PMP certified, but you may not be exposed to all the best practices in the industry that's going on. So this networking helps you connect with other project managers serving other industries, and you get to understand what are the challenges they're facing and what are the solutions out there. So this is a huge benefit that I myself got out of PMI membership, and I suggest it's my recommendation that you do it before you attend the prep course. The next step would be understand the PMBOK guide. Now, at this stage, I don't want you to read the low-level details of the PMBOK guide and the Agile Practice Guide. You can skim through the book, understand the structure, and understand the table of contents, and at a high level, understand the terminology used there. Currently, as we speak, the latest edition is PMBOK 6th edition. When I refer to PMBOK throughout the session, please assume that I am also mentioning the Agile Practice Guide. So Agile Practice Guide is a supplementary guide that comes with the PMBOK guide, and that is equally important for your exam, as 50% of the questions come from Agile. Now, both of these are major reference guides for your PMP exam preparation. We'll talk about it when we talk about the post-prep course section. As I mentioned earlier, you can get this both soft copy for free once you have a PMI membership. Next step, get a PMP prep book. Now, the PMBOK guide is just a kind of a reference guide, right? It doesn't have the dynamics of project management. It talks about the terminologies, various definitions of various project management terms, but what is the dynamics behind it? What are the situations where you will use them? A prep book would help you prepare for it, right? And as I mentioned, at this stage, you not uh, go through the prep book line by line or the low level details. You can just skim through a book, understand the terms being used at a high level, understand the table of contents. As I mentioned, the PMBOK guide itself is not enough for you to pass the PMP exam. Now, I have to stress here, right? I have seen examples of PMP aspirants who attended the prep course, went through the PMBOK guide, and they couldn't pass through the exam. So the PMBOK guide is a good reference guide, but is not enough for you to pass the PMP exam. Exactly. You need a guide that helps you do chapter-wise evaluation, and these prep books help you in doing that. And both the screenshots I have put down here are just recommendations. There are many other good books that can help you as well. Rita Mulcahy and PMP Head First are the most popular ones. I personally used Rita Mulcahy back in the days when I was getting PMP certified in 2014. It's a good book, and it has been most widely used by most of the PMP aspirants. And one more important thing is make sure that the edition of the book that you purchase covers the latest edition of PMBOK. Sometimes we are in a hurry, we order a book online, and then we realize that the edition does not match, then that doesn't help you with the exam. So this is an investment that you are making towards your PMP certification. Be diligent and make sure that the book covers PMBOK latest edition, in this case, the 6th edition. We'll talk about the prep course. Now we are done with week 1. We did the groundwork. We skimmed through the PMBOK guide and Agile Practice Guide. We skimmed through the prep course book. We got the PMI membership. So we are good to go for the course. Now somebody asked, what is the qualification for PMP exam, right? So there is an educational qualification that is required. I will show the exact numbers at the end of the session. Either a 4-year degree or a 3-year degree. If you have a 4-year degree, there's a different qualification. A 3-year degree is a different qualification. You are expected to have anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 hours of project management work based on what is your qualification, and the 35-hour contact PDUs is a must for non-CAPM certified people. So that's the reason you need a prep course before you actually write the exam. So that is one of the qualification as well. So this, as I mentioned, CAPM is an associate level project management certification from PMI. If you are already certified in CAPM, the 35-hour course is not mandatory for the exam. But my personal recommendation is, if you are CAPM certified, please do attend the course as well, because it helps you understand or revise the topics and get you ready for the exam much better. Now, I mentioned here as week 2, but this may spread across multiple weeks, this course, right? So some of the courses may last for 9 hours a day for 4 days. Some of them can be split like 4.5 hours a day for 8 days. So this is just a rough estimation. So your actual course may go beyond a week as well. Now, whatever you have did in your previous week is a groundwork. This will help you connect the dots in the actual prep course, right? When the instructor is talking something about a particular term in project management that relates to PMI, you will be easily able to grasp it and understand the subject. And hope now you understand why we needed the week 1 for our groundwork. And one more recommendation is, once you are done with the daily session of the course, give a read through the prep book. There are 2 reasons for it. The first reason is you can connect the dots. Obviously, you can understand what the instructor has said. It can give you more meaning to the learning that you have. The second reason is it will help you memorize the subject much faster. Now, the groundwork in week 1 will help you make the most out of instructor's time in the 35 hours. I'll tell you what is the biggest mistake most aspirants do. They do not do the groundwork in week 1 and they go to the prep course. By the time they have right questions in their mind, the course is completed, right? So while the instructor is live, if you do the groundwork, you can note down your questions beforehand and ask him the right questions and use his time efficiently so that you have lesser questions post the course. Now, a couple of resources that you should be aware of. The 2021 exam, most prep courses register the student in the PMI LO choice. So what is PMI LO choice? It is nothing but a student portal. So what does it give you? It gives you access to the student manual for the course. It gives you access to the PMI slides for the course. So if you have time, you can go through the manual on the slides beforehand before you attend the course. It's all PMI related material. So you get all the PMI material as a student in your student portal. Okay, so we have done the groundwork in week 1. We have attended the prep course in week 2. Now, only thing between us and the exam is the course preparation, is the post-prep course. We are in week 3, right? The easy thing and the best thing for you to do would be to scroll through the PMP Student Manual. Remember, I mentioned about the student portal access. You'll be getting a student manual that has some details which will be helpful for you to revise through it once. So as you are going with PMI Student Manual, the subject and the content will be related to PMBOK guide. So you will be able to connect them easily. The manual is in order and you can go through that in that exact order as it is. Every topic in the manual has a set of activities at the end. Make sure you practice the activities as you complete the topic. That gives better understanding of the topic and it helps you memorize the subject as well. Now, you're done with skimming through the or reading through the student manual in week 3. We are combining week 4 and week 5 for a particular activity. We will be going through the prep book thoroughly. I'll explain why we need to do that. Between these 2 weeks, you need to split the chapters that your prep book have equally. Right? For example, Rita Mulcahy has 14 chapters. So you have 14 days in 2 weeks. You can talk about 2 chapters per day or 1 chapter per day. Now, as you read through the prep book, you can connect the content with ECO and PMBOK. Now, most of the prep books out there, they have the connection in the graphic in the book itself, right? For example, Rita Mulcahy, with every topic, they give you which part of the topic they are talking about, and they give you references to PMBOK where you can find this subject. So it should not be a big deal. Now, here is what I will stress the most. As you complete every chapter, make sure you practice the exercises at the end of the chapter. Now, as you practice, make sure you note down your scores. Make sure whether you have given the right answer for every question or the wrong answer. I'll help you explain why we need to do this, but this is very important. So we're done with week 4 and 5, right? We went through the prep book thoroughly. We have practiced the exercises at the end of every chapter. Now I'm combining week 6 and 7 simply to repeat the same thing. Practice the exercise at the end of the chapter. Now, when you do this again, note down the scores and you should see improvement in your answers from your previous attempt. If not, you would have to repeat the exercise with the chapter. Make sure you understand all the answers. By all, I mean rights and wrong, right? Just because you gave the answer right, uh, you may not be knowing the actual reason. It's important to understand why you gave the answer right, because as I mentioned earlier, you need to understand this from a PMI perspective. You need to understand these project management concepts from a PMI perspective. And this researching through both right and wrong answers gives you a better idea. Now, repeat this until you score about 95% in chapters. 95% might look too aggressive for you, but let me give an example. It took me 2 attempts to get 95% in every chapter. At the worst, it can go to three attempts, but still it's worth the effort. Now, we are done with the prep book for 4 weeks. We have revised it twice or thrice. Uh, we have got good scores in our uh, practice questions at the end of every chapter. Now, we are in the most important part right before the exam is the mock exam. Every prep book out there gives you, even the prep courses out there gives you uh, a set of question bank and gives you access to practice questions or the mock exams rather, right? So what is a mock exam? It mocks the exact exam. So recommendation is to attempt 4 full mock exams or at least 3. So we have 1 full week. Uh, Try to attempt 3 to 4 full mock exams. What do you mean by full mock exam? The full mock exam is exactly similar to the actual exam. The actual exam is 230 minutes, roughly 4 hours. You need to get used to that fatigue of sitting through 4 hours for an exam, so that it's easy for you to experience in the actual exam, right? So that's what I mean. The mock must simulate duration too, and treat it as exam. Understand why when your answers are wrong. This is equally important in mock exam as well. Once you're done with all the questions in the mock exam, revise the answers, understand why your answers were wrong, and write. Now, mm, our recommendation would be the last 2 attempts in your mock exam, you should have scored greater than 80%, which is a decent score for you to be confident enough to go and attempt the main exam. Don't attend it if you get anything less than this. Some additional tips before we talk about the exam, right? Keep in mind the exam is based on ECO and not PMBOK. PMBOK is a reference guide, but the blueprint of the exam is based on ECO. Focus equally on agile and predictive models, as both are weighed equally. We have discussed this in the earlier slide, but I would like to stress on it again. Follow the instruction manual as it is based on ECO. You get the instruction manual when you register for the course with the PMI student portal. Apply for the exam at an earlier stage to avoid verification surprises. Now, let me explain this. Uh, Among all the applications aspirants put with PMI, a certain percentage of that application is used for audit, right? So PMI would not approve your application immediately. Instead, send you back certain set of questions and certain set of uh, evidence for your project management experience that they would need from you. So this will that would take some time. So what we suggest is apply for the exam at the earliest as possible. The reason being, once you start your preparation, if you get this verification surprises, it will deviate your focus from the exam preparation, right? So better do it before, get the application done, and you can completely focus. Now, this is my personal recommendation. Schedule a date for the exam so that you can work reverse from that date. Now, probably this is for more like aspirants like me who tend to get carried over with their day-to-day work, and then the exam, you keep postponing the exam and you may never make it. The right thing for you to do is schedule a date for the exam. Let's say 2 months from now or 3 months from now, whichever you feel is convenient for you. That way, it will be constantly in the back of your mind, constantly nagging you and reminding you that there is an exam and that you have to study, and that will be one way of disciplining yourself. This is just a suggestion. Now, all the 180 questions, attempt all of them. The fact that unanswered questions are treated as wrong, which is obvious, so attempt all the questions. And some tips on the prep book. Make sure the prep book is aligned with the relevant PMBOK edition. I am repeating this because I have seen examples where aspirants ordered for a book and that happened to be an edition that doesn't support the latest PMBOK. So that is the reason I am stressing it again. Make sure it is relevant to the current PMBOK edition that your exam supports. The practice question bank must have all types of questions from exam. So the prep books come with either an online access or a DVD with simulated exams and mock exams, right? Now you need to practice against all types of questions that you get in the actual exam. Comfortable when you see the actual question, right? Make sure that the prep book that you buy supports all these types of questions that we've talked about earlier in this session. Questions must be closer in complexity and content with PMP. You would have to check which book suits you first. In my experience, Rita Mulcahy has the most closest similarity in terms of complexity and content P exam. No, you need all those. For you from PMI website, all you need is the PMBOK guide and the Agile Practice Guide. And for the previous exams, this video could be put on either YouTube or channel of Techcanvass. Brijesh would get back to you on that, or how we'll be able to access. Yeah, the last point is mock exams must be able to explain both the answers. As I explained earlier, for you to understand why your answer was right is equally important as to why your answer was wrong. Sometimes when you're practicing, you may randomly guess an answer and select it and click on submit. But you need to understand the reason behind it as well, so that when you get the same question in the exam, you have clarity as to why that is the right answer and you are more confident. Now we are on the D-Day, the exam day. So a lot of questions to the mind. Most of the people have this question: should I attend the exam center, or should I do it at home? Right? This is clearly choice based on their convenience, but you need to consider a couple of factors and attributes, right? Consider power cuts and network outages, right? Will you be able to handle it? Do you have the backup in place at home? PMI would not take responsibility for your lack of logistics. Sometimes, and again, this is my personal opinion, exam tension is good to perform. In my case, for example, I like the exam tension when I'm doing it and I perform better, right? So, as I mentioned, it's an individual choice. Consider these factors and attributes as well. Now, before we go for questions, just a heads up for PMP aspirants that there is a PMBOK 7 edition coming up as well. Right? So when is it coming up? PMI has given an ETA of August 1st. Right? We are just a month away. We're not sure, but looks like it would come on August 1st. Now, one thing here that just because they are releasing a new PMBOK edition on August 1st, the exam is going to change on August 1st. PMI will give some time both for candidates, uh, training companies to accommodate this new PMBOK guide into their material, and even for the prep book publishers to accommodate for this new content and assimilate them into their prep course. So it's going to take months for the exam to reflect the PMBOK 7. Now there are some radical changes in the PMBOK guide for 7. This is just for highlighting and for your information. The first thing is that we are moving away from a process-based approach towards project management to a principle-based approach. Uh, does it ring any bell? Something like Agile Manifesto, right? So this is a good move from PMI, keeping in consideration the industry trends. This would be more relevant to the project management profession. And there is a value delivery system that would be considered as part of the PMBOK 7, and which is also more relevant considering that the business is more value driven, is measured more in terms of value that is delivered out of tasks. So this makes more sense as more and more frameworks come up, like the scaled agile framework, for example, is hugely value driven. So that completes this session from my side. I'm open to questions. I will also try to answer any questions that have been in the chat. So meanwhile, you can keep on typing your questions. Copy of the slides, I don't think so, but rather as Brijesh mentioned, you'll have this video in our YouTube channel. You can always go back and refer that. Eligibility for project manager exam, I'll take that question in the last, but it needs some explanation. I'll come there. I'll share the PMI website and talk through for the eligibility. Yes, you get the recording. Yeah, I have answered the question from Imam Alam regarding the number of books out there. So PMBOK and Agile Practice Guide are good enough. Yes, please. Somebody has a question? Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I see in the chat. Anybody has any questions, you can ask me over the voice now before I.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Hi. Yes. Actually, I wanted to know for filling the application of PMI, what initial experience we require to fill the application of PMI?
I'll in a minute. So I'll give you the exact numbers. Give me a second. Any other questions?
And how we will get to know that we are qualified for this examination, and how we are going to approach how we are able to how once the application is filled and they told that your verification is done, then what is the second stage? Means like is there any another thing we need to pay for examination once the application is completed?
Okay, that's a good question. So the verification is not for everyone, just FYI. The verification is a random process. The last number I heard was 5% of the applications will be verified by PMI. The number could have changed by now, but it's not for everyone. But I just want you to be alert so that it doesn't come to you as a surprise. So that's the first part. And coming to qualification part that you asked, right? We have two options, right, for PMP. Option one is you have a 4-year degree, then you are expected to have 36 months of uh, experience in leading projects. Now, this doesn't mean that you are holding a project manager title, right? This means you have experience of leading projects. Now, your PMP application would ask you details as to what is the role that you played in the project, how many hours of effort you have put in each stage of the project, like execution, initiation, closure, etc. And one more important aspect is that no overlapping experience is allowed, right? This experience should be sequential. If you worked for 12 months in 2 different projects, you cannot claim 24 months of experience. That would be considered as 12 months of experience only. So that's with experience. And the third part is project management training that I talked about. This is not applicable for those, the last point, who are coming with CAPM certification, right? On the other hand, option two is if you have an associate degree or high school diploma, 6 months of experience would be expected for the applicants, and the rest of the qualification remains the same. Hope that answers your question. Anything I missed or anything else you would like to know?
Sir, actually, that PDU part, so that one, how we will get that 35 PDU? Means like we need to enroll for any coaching or something like that?
Correct. That's a good question, right? Uh, you need to get trained on a PMP prep course for 35 hours with authorized training partner of PMI. Okay, that is a mandatory rule. Please do not take training from any institute who are not ATP or authorized training partner. Techcanvass is the authorized training partner, and we provide prep course worth 35 PDUs as well. Okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Good questions. Anything else from your side?
I just want to ask, like, as you said, PMBOK 7 is going to start from, it's going to be available from August onwards. So when their exam will be, like, based on the PMBOK 7, when the exam will be uh, uh, in the market, then that we can be giving.
Correct. So there is no date officially given by PMI. What typically happens, right? Even when they release the edition, PMBOK edition before as well, they give some time for the market to catch up on the new content. As they mentioned, the students have to prepare. Most importantly, the prep books, right? They need to update their editions with the new PMBOK 7 edition. So you would have to give at least 3 months before the exam reflects it. I'm being very aggressive here. It can be more than that. So we don't have a date from PMI. It can be anywhere between 3 to 6 months is my best guess.
Okay.
Actually, I'm working as a senior software engineer, and my total years of experience is around 6. So, am I eligible for this 36 months of experience?
It's the other way around. I should ask you the question. Do you have 36 months of experience leading projects?
I'm actually not working in the management side.
Okay. So my suggestion would be the certification CAPM suits you more. because that is for entry-level project managers. CAPM stands for Certified Associate Project Manager. That is also given by PMI. That covers the groundwork that's needed for PMP exam. So that could be a good entry point, and that has good value as well. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Questions?
Yes. Hi. Hello. Yeah. Hi. This is Sharad. I have a question related with the same point. Suppose you don't have the actual project management experience, but you have the lead position experience. Is that count?
See, project management experience doesn't mean you are a full-fledged project manager managing all the aspects, right? So it may be you might have done project management implicitly as a part of your role. So understand your role, what you have been doing. Probably you can do this exercise once you go home. Take down a piece of paper and then as a given a project manager's list of roles like planning or estimating or scheduling or budgeting or quality management for that example. What are the aspects that you covered in experience, and try to see if that fits in 36 months. Right, as I mentioned, it's not about the job title, right? Sometimes even when I was doing a project management role, I didn't have a project management manager title, right? I had a team lead title back then. It was proper project management. So look at your role, just down your number of years of experience against each aspect of project management. If that covers 36 months, then you have that experience. That's what I would say.
Okay, and to support this, we need some documents from the company or something?
Yes. So again, that PMI would ask you if your application falls under audit. They will ask you some kind of supporting document from your company, which you need to share with them. They may also contact your manager basis, which they would have taken as a part of your PMP application process.
Okay.
So what I did before I applied for my PMP exam is I talked to managers and explained them that I am applying for PMP exam, and they should not be surprised if they get a call from PMI. They can talk to them about my experience as project manager. So if you give a heads up to your managers, it will be easier for both of you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, this is Siddhanti at this side. I have a question. I have a total experience of 5+ years in which I have joined my company and was working in a service-based company. And the role was of a functional consultant. Yes, it is a project which doesn't have a closure because it is a service basically. And currently from the past 6 months I have been working as a project associate cum coordinator from the past 6 months. So right now I'm actually working on a proper project. Earlier I was working on a service. So just wanted to understand that what aspects are to be considered while making an application to PMI, because yes, that the earlier I also had a project assigned to me, and even now I do have a project assigned to me, and in between I also did a mini project like a phase 2 of the project for closure. So does this first there is a two-parter on this. First one, what aspects to be put in the application while applying to PMI? Second, what would be the eligibility criteria suffice my experience? And the third question that I have, I missed the point about how CAPM affects the PMP application. Can you just elaborate on these points again?
Sure. I'll club your first and second questions together, right? Again, it's the same answer I gave to Sharad as well. You mentioned that you worked on a project. Important is what is the role that you played in the project, right? Were we involved in management aspects, right? It may be planning or it may be execution. If that is the case, note down the experience, put it in a piece of paper, add the number of months, and see if the math comes to 36. If it comes to 36, then you are good enough, right? Or else, option 2 is, as you asked for in the third question, CAPM, right? CAPM is for those candidates who are willing to move into the project manager role. They don't have sufficient experience before. they want to understand what is project management about from PMI perspective, then you can apply for CAPM. The qualification for CAPM I handy now, but I'm pretty sure you would be qualified to apply for CAPM. And the next logical step would be after a couple of years, you spend full project management, your time in project management role, and that would make you eligible for PMP. So I have seen people who took up CAPM, use their knowledge and applied it in their job. That helped them gain more experience and learning, and then went for PMP. It all depends on how much experience you have so far. When you put it on a piece of paper, you'll be able to take a decision.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. But does it affect the eligibility criteria if I already have a CAPM certification? The
It
PDUs or
positively.
something. I missed that part actually. Sorry. That's why I
Oh,
was
sorry.
asking.
Yeah, that was the question. So
Yeah.
it positively affects you in the sense that you don't need the 35 hours of project management training. CAPM is a subset of PMP. If you look at the topics in the CAPM, right, it
Yeah.
is a subset of it. So you can see the outline is very similar. So you are relaxed from attending the 35-hour project management training. So for your
Okay, so
PMP.
those 35 PDUs will be equivalent to my CAPM certification, and I can
Exactly.
directly apply for my PMP. That is what
Correct.
is affects. Okay, so having a CAPM certification will also give me a pre-prep as well as a good idea about how PMI thinks basically, and it will also help me in putting my application for PMP.
Exactly. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Welcome. Any more questions? All right. Looks like we are also out of time. You might be having other appointments. Thanks for your time and coming out questions. In case you get any more questions, you can reach out to Brijesh. He can route to me and I can get them answered as well. So I'm wishing you all good luck in your aspiration to be a PMP certification holder. Techcanvass is here to help you. You can reach out to Brijesh if you are further interested. Over to Brijesh to conclude anything.
Yeah, thanks, Jankiram. I guess we are good now. All right, so I'll be sharing my email ID in the chat box. So if you want to reach out to us, so you can always write to that email ID. I'll be sharing the contact number also. You can call us on those contacts. So thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.